Welcome back to Sidetracked Garage. Today we got the 1980 Ford F-250 back in here again. It's got the 347 stroker. We're going to be taking that back out again. It's got some oil consumption problems. I'm going to try to resolve that. So what I'm thinking it might be is I may have messed up when it came to rings. So we're going to try to figure out what's going on there. I got a bore gauge. We're going to check the cylinders. Should have done that before. And put it back together. See what it does, hopefully. And really would like to solve the oil problem. So, I'm going to go ahead and get on that. Yank that there hood off. And then just throw that motor out onto the ground. Check it out, see what's going on. Alright, so I went ahead and got the motor out on the stand. Head's off, everything's off. Right now just draining fluids. So as far as top end moving parts, this rocker here, it's got a crack in the roller. You can just barely see it on the camera. It comes across, yeah, right there. So I think I'm going to be looking at a new rocker there. That's one issue. Then the lifters, I don't know if you can see that, but they're kind of pitted. This one's not too bad. There was one that really didn't like more than any of them. But you can kind of catch it with your fingernails, so that's a very bad sign. That one is definitely rough. I can feel some stuff going on there. You want those to be very smooth. So, looks like I'm going to be pulling a cam out and inspecting that. Probably going to get a bigger one, honestly. I was probably going to do that anyway. So, once that oil's drained out, I'm going to take probably that piston out and check that cylinder. And that's what we're going to start with anyway. And then, obviously, all of them got to come out. So that's where I'm at so far. But altogether, everything's kind of, sort of, maybe halfway decent. This side's a lot better looking for some reason. I guess it's just not as bad. So, be right back once I get that out of there. Alright, so I got the pistons out, all on one side. The other ones are still in. So I went ahead and checked the gap in these rings. That goes in somewhat snug, still got a little wiggle room. That is a 35 thousandths and a 15 thousandths. No. What is that? No. Wait a minute. Yeah, 15 thousandths. Yeah, so you can see that's pretty thick. Putting both of those in there. And this one, that's a lot of wiggle room there. This is the biggest one I got, but I did stack a couple of these together like that. Stuck it in there. Well, actually that works too. Yeah. Just started stacking them until it felt snug. And then used the micrometer on it. And came up with 53 thousandths gap on that. That's quite a lot. 35 is too much for one of these. I think it's supposed to be closer to, I think 30 is the absolute max on that. Now everything else on the motor seems to be working pretty good. And this is just extremely smooth rotating, so I'm not really worried about anything else other than ring gap. And also putting thread sealant in the back of the crank. and putting a cam in it, which I found a cam that's bigger than the one I got. I'm going to get that one, I believe. And then we'll just go ahead and try to get absolutely every little bit more extra power I can get out of this thing. Gotta find my puller for that. Got no idea where that is. You get that off of there. But yeah. And I've seen a few spots on the cam lobes that are kind of iffy. But I really don't understand why the bottoms of the lifters are pitted. Actually, that looks kind of glittery. Yeah, it does look a little strange, but yeah, I don't really understand why that went the way it did. I wouldn't say the cam completely failed. It still worked. The lifter still rotated perfectly. But for some reason, well, I do know there's a gouge in that one lobe back here in the very back one. There's also a really bad lifter tap out of this thing. Cold start. So, we'll go ahead and get some parts ordered. Get a new intake because I don't like that one. I like air gap intake, but I don't like that one. Need rings, file fit rings. I'm going to get file fit rings because this bore is just maybe a shade big, because these are supposed to be made for a 40 over cylinder, so we'll see how that goes. And maybe this will work out. I think it might. If it doesn't, then just take the internals out of this and find a new block, because the only other alternative is maybe possibly the cylinders are out of round, like by a lot, but I don't think they are, because they still look pretty decent. They should really look better than what they do right now, but all in all, they look okay. They're not exactly what I would like to see, but they're not destroyed by the eyeball. That's going to be pretty much all I got for right now. Let's see how this goes. These look pretty decent. The bearings kind of scare me though. I mean, that's really not bad wear. Obviously they're dirty, but I mean, they do look a little more worn than what I feel like they should be. That one actually looks pretty good. That one's just shiny, but it should have more of a kind of a dull look to it. Which, of course, that's going to go away as soon as you start it up. But it should look maybe a little more like that. They're not they're not rough at all, actually. So I think we're safe with the bearings. Because when I first got a look at them, they did kind of scare me, but upon further inspection, they actually look pretty good. So, time to tear this thing the rest of the way down and see what else is going on with it. Hopefully nothing. I'd really like that. Alright, so I got my new rings now. So, doing this, what I'm doing is just taking the piston, leaving that ring on there, the second ring, to square it up, just like that. So, I'm going to do that 32 million billion times and get these rings filed to 22 thousandths. Pretty close right there. But yeah, you can see this one, like I said, is 53 thousandths. This one's around, I think it's almost 40. So you can see that difference there between that and that. Of course, we gotta take a lot off of this. This one's like 10 thousandths currently. And this here's the oil ring. This one is actually, I'm gonna say it's perfect the way it is. I'm still gonna check them, but as of right now, it fits pretty good. Got a perfect gap on that. So now I'm gonna start grinding on those and be back next year. Alright, so I got all the piston rings done finally. It took forever. Not as long as I thought it would, but it still took a while. So they're gapped at about 22 thousandths, top and bottom ring. And then the bottom ones, didn't really worry about those. They actually had a sufficient gap in those. The oil rings are the ones I'm talking about. So now that thing should be, by the time it gets up to running temp, it should be tighter than a Tex rear end. So I think that'll be a lot better, and it'll probably not burn oil nearly as bad. Hopefully not, because really getting sick of that. So now I'm going to go ahead and yank that cam out of there, see what's going on, see if it's usable or just trash it, see what I can do with it. So I got the cam out of it. It's actually not that bad. Might be able to use that for another project, I don't know. As I said, the cam's completely trashed. Could never use that again. Good thing I got a new one. So that's going to be it for this round. Just going ahead, tearing the engine down, seeing what's all going on. And just seeing what's all going on. So that's going to do it for now. Thanks for watching. And if you want to see this thing come back together and do its thing again, then go ahead and subscribe. Wait for the next video on it, where I'm putting the engine back together and putting it in the truck, getting that running again. So thank you for watching, and go ahead and like and maybe put a comment on there and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.